to, get things done, to work with others, to communicate. And so these skills are very important to develop at the university. And usually when students come out of high schools, that's not that developed at that stage. So the university gives lots of opportunities to develop those skills and set the students up for a successful career into the future. The other one is that students are a little bit humble. So our graduates who did the best, say 5-10 years post-graduation, were very down to earth. So they were hardworking, but at the same time also they knew what they knew and they knew what they didn't know, and they were continuously working to improve themselves, knowing that there may be others who may do things better than them. I think those are some of the skills that I observed. Mm-hmm.
Well, I pretty much work with first-year students exclusively. So in that first semester, I've been known to say, education is about change, and no one is asked to change farther and faster than first-year students in that first semester. And so I really thought about this question, like, what are the first-year students who excel in that first semester? And I think it's students who are most adaptable. And the thing is, how do you become very adaptable? Because we can say, oh, here's the quality, but then how do you develop that? I think you develop adaptability through hardship, right? Things that have happened to you, and you have to go, okay, you're out of your comfort zone. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? We don't often say, okay, I want to become more adaptable, and then the universe gives us all these difficult assignments, right? But first semester of university is one of those things. The other thing that I think, and when we say excel, I would kind of want to redefine that. I don't think of success as, perfect 4.0 GPA, because some of those students are miserable, and they don't look like they're excelling necessarily. But students who reach out to give and receive support through sometimes the Centers for Teaching and Learning, academic resources, but also with their classmates, right? So I'm going to use an analogy, probably not very effective in Qatar, but imagine you are on a lake that's frozen in the winter, okay? I'm from Minnesota, so we have a lot of those. If you hear the ice cracking, right, you have to get down on the ice and spread your body out, right? Let's say your brother already fell in, because he did, okay? If you walk over there, you're going to fall in too. But if you spread out, and then your other brother holds onto your ankle, and you spread it across the ice, that is a way of succeeding in the academy. And you're stretching out to give and receive support from other students, upperclassmen, official resources, student services, but also professors. We can, sometimes we're part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Thank you very much to everyone for answering this question. Actually, being a fresh graduate myself, this is something I can really connect with, especially something that Dr. Linko mentioned about a lot of the students saying that the things that they learned in university were not exactly technical skills. This is something I can really resonate with myself. So the next question that I'd like to ask everyone is, what are some initiatives that you may have taken or strategies that you may have implemented to ensure that your students blossom? So, okay, we can start on that side.
Well, getting to know them individually. So I do that through their writing, but also meeting with them in my office about their papers. Also, I do kind of a mastery learning approach, so it's not unusual for a student to take a project through 4 or 5 drafts until they're succeeding at communicating effectively. But I also kind of start with this essay like, why are you here? Why are you here, right? I think to create a safe enough environment where they can share their dreams, which is a vulnerable thing, to share your dreams with your classmates and your teachers, right? So it doesn't always work, but that's what I'm going for. Because it's kind of like, who are you? And then who do you want to become? Where have you been? Where are you going? And I think, how can we help them blossom if we don't know we don't have a clue of what they want to blossom into?
For me, I'm teaching senior students primarily, so after 3 years already completed. One of the challenges there is to move out of this course. I pass a course, I pass the exam, I do my homeworks, and the answer is either correct or it's wrong. And the real world is not correct or wrong, but it's all gray. And it's about critical thinking, decision making, under uncertainty, and so forth. So I try to create learning opportunities for the students in more design experiences, where they have to think about what would a solution look like to a problem? What is even a problem? How do I say that a problem is addressed well? Especially in the sustainability context now, where there are so many conflicting objectives. And usually the students respond to this extremely well, to these experiences. At the beginning, it makes everyone feel a bit uneasy because there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. But I think these are the important ways of thinking to develop going into the future, as we need to transition to more sustainable ways. And there are no clear answers at this point to how to do it. There's a need to work with other disciplines to understand social dimensions, economic dimensions, and so forth, and to have an openness for those other disciplines rather than dismiss them, but to value them for their contributions. And to me, this can only be done by doing. So trying to solve a problem and try to see how limited your own discipline is in addressing the overall challenge. So over the last couple of years, I've been working on this direction primarily.
So for me, they get them in the classroom and I get them out of the classroom. So I try to develop their skills that are outside of the classroom, what they don't get inside the classroom. So, I really enjoy working with students. That's why I'm back in student services, actually. So when they come to me, or if I'm thinking of organizing an event or starting an initiative, so I first think of maybe a student club that can be responsible for organizing it. We can be there to support them, to provide them with the resources, to mentor them, to guide them, but let them, do all the work so they can learn and grow, develop those skills, time management, leadership, communications, team building, so many skills. So I bring them, and just recently, for instance, here at QF, we established multiversity student clubs. So we have the Multiversity International Student Organization, the Muslim Student Association, the Qatari Student Association, the Entrepreneurship Club. And so we have, and a couple more, but what we do is bring students from all the universities together, and we ask them to organize events that are multiversity, that they can bring all students here to Multaqa, work together, but from that they gain a lot of experiences, and that's how they learn, they grow and develop. So one of the events that's coming up, that's on Tuesday, so I hope you guys will be able to join us, is the Cultural Awareness Day, which is the Culture Day. We have more than 40 countries represented. These are our students from your universities. It will be here at Multaqa, I think from 5 to 9 o'clock. They will be sharing information about their countries, their cultures, their values, their music, their food, and everything. These are students. So done by the students and for the students and the community.
I think everything that my colleagues have said is right on. And I love that each one had a different dimension to essentially seeing students as real people. I think one of the pitfalls of being a professor is that some professors see it as a job. And we come in, we teach, we research, we write, we have numbers, students are numbers. But what I've realized, and I don't have as much prolific experience as Misty, I only have half of your experience. But what I've realized year after year after year is that the more that we tap back into the students, the more that we learn about them through their writing or their critical thinking or outside of the classroom, and we see you as real people, the better that we can work together with you. So if I know that you're late for a certain reason, and you're vulnerable enough to tell me what that reason is, then I can work with you. I can work with you on making up what you missed in class. Maybe there's something going on in your life. If you tell me what's going on, I can hopefully help you through it, whether I can give some own advice from my own experiences. Or we can find ways for you to recover and get back on your feet. There's several faces in this audience that I've worked with very specifically, and I've seen you blossom and you grow because I've poured into you because I can, and you let me do that. And so when I set the bar high for all of my students, and then I know that you are up for that challenge, then I push you. And some of you have been very, very shy, you know who you are, and you say, oh, I don't want to give a speech up in class. And I say, you can do it. I know you can. Just practice and practice and practice until it becomes comfortable. And then you're going to see yourself grow. So just like Misty, a lot of my students are first year, and by the time that they get to Patrick, you have grown because we've worked you through that, because you've practiced, and you've done that critical thinking together, and you've done those group skills in our classes, so that those are the skills that you're going to take out to your career, because this is kind of like a playground area for you, where you're testing yourself and you're testing your skills with one another, because this is a safe zone. And it's okay to be vulnerable with each other. It's okay to be vulnerable with your professors, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you blossom and to grow your skill sets. So when we set the bar high for you, it's because we believe in you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And speaking from the perspective of someone who was a student not so long ago, I think these are things personally for me that maybe were there at the start of university, but I did not know that I had them. But people like Dr. Bounds, Dr. Misty, Dr. Linka, and Dr. Abdel Nasser, the things that they talked about, these are skills that I think you develop during your time at the university with the help of your professors and your mentors. And I think these are things that really help you blossom at the end, by the time that you are there, ready for the workplace. So the next question that I have for all of you is that, what are maybe the most pressing challenges that you may have faced when trying to inspire meaningful change in students, and how did you overcome them? So that's the question.
Okay. I think the panelists will all agree as well. Can you hear me? Yeah. It is commitment, getting commitment from the students. That's a big challenge, and you can tell here, I mean, this is a very, very important event. We have more than 4,000 students here enrolled at all the universities at Education City, yet we only have the future leaders in the room who are here to learn from the other leaders. So that's a big problem. When I used to work at community colleges, it was understandable, because the average age was 25, 26 years old, adults, working adults, many of them are married with children, so getting that commitment was hard. And it was very hard for us to organize events and keep them engaged. But here at Qatar Foundation, I mean, the majority of the students should not or don't have any excuse to not be much more engaged or much more active and attend workshops, attend events that are so meaningful, that will help them learn, grow, and develop themselves so that they are ready to be global leaders. So I would say, commitment from the students is the biggest challenge, and we've tried everything. We've tried to change the time, the dates, but the only thing that I think my staff members tell me works is if you announce that there's free food. If you announce that there's free food, then everybody's going to come. But and we continue to do that. But again, that's not a good reason for the students to come to such events. The students, like today, spend so much of their time and their efforts and the resources to organize this event, yet the commitment from other students is not there. So
yeah, that's a very interesting question. So I think what I would say is it hasn't really changed. What's the problem that I observe, and that is to a large extent a great obsession that is in the way of learning. So many times we have students who care about getting an A as a primary objective, and then the learning more as a secondary objective. And I think that is not sustainable. And the important attitude, I think, also that leads to the success that we discussed earlier, is to try and learn as much as you can, take advantage of all the opportunities you can get to learn, and then if you do well, you get the A. But if you get the B, you get feedback that will help you improve your learning as you go along. And I think that is something very important to internalize from what I have seen over the years. Because just getting an A is not necessarily the key to success.
I just want to say ditto, but that is mine, because to get into these good schools, a lot of students, well, us included too, when we got through grad school and stuff, we play the student game. And the student game often is, what's the least amount of effort I can put in to get the thing I want to get out, which is straight A's or whatever, right? So that's the student game. So the biggest challenge, I think, is changing the mentality about that. And I totally agree with you. Like, if you guess on a multiple choice test and you guess right, then you'll never remember that, right? But if you got it wrong, we remember the things we got wrong, right? So in my field, in writing, so if it's just about the paper, the quality of the paper, the thing, if you really think that's what it's about, then it doesn't matter if you have AI write it or a tutor write it or whatever, right? Because you think it's about the thing. And let me, just for analogy's sake, all my analogies are sports analogies. It's a push-up. You think the teacher just needs to see, an audio, video recording of a push-up. No, it's about developing the muscles and doing it with the correct form. And so what I try to do to overcome that is call them on it, right? To try to teach this different way, but also to give points for process and to scaffold. So we start things and then we discuss the paper before it's in its final version. And that doesn't mean that it's a foolproof way and that some people don't still try to get other people. It's going to take a long time. It's because they've been doing this student game for a long time and they've been well rewarded for it. That's why they keep doing it.
Variation on a theme. I think you've noticed that we've all encountered the same challenges. But going back to some of the things that the speaker said earlier about failure, it's okay to fail because sometimes that's the best way we can learn our lessons, because it kind of shakes up that normalcy that we've been putting ourselves through, that daily routine of just playing that game. But when we fail, that's when we realize something's got to change, and that's when we learn the best. And so sometimes it's the students who have had the biggest challenges in my classes that they stop and they pause, and then they realize, I need to change something. And sometimes they become the best students by the time that they get to their senior classes, because they realize that they actually have to change something. And that's when we become more moldable in life. And it's not just in your classes, it's in daily life. It's because you're growing. You start your university experience when you're 18 years old, and then you go out in the world as a full-fledged adult. And we've helped you to spread your wings in doing that. But you are going to fail along the way. And it's okay to do another project over again. It's okay to rewrite that paper because you didn't get the grade that you wanted the first time. But you shouldn't be trying to achieve just the grades. It's the experience. You only get to do this once in your undergrad career, inshallah. And you may go on into your grad school, and you may develop even more learning. But this is a really special time in your lives when you should take every opportunity to learn. You should stay curious, even when you get to our level. Ask questions, learn things. I've learned some great things today that I'm going to take back into the world. And we should continue to do that in our lives, is to continue learning, because this is one of my quotes: the day that you stop learning, you start dying.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bounds, Dr. Abdel Nasser, Dr. Linka, Dr. Missi, for these insights. I think that was a very good question to end it on, because taking all of these insights, and then I think, especially for our future leaders here, who are students, future leaders, they can take all of these insights from these experts and use them in their own daily life. And I think this is really going to help you blossom, like I mentioned earlier, and it's really going to make you successful in life. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And the audience, I hope, is really going to benefit
In
from
industries
the
like
insights that all of
energy,
you have
education,
provided.
and beyond,
Thank you very much.
challenges often drive innovation, pushing us to rethink solutions and adapt. Our first speaker, Taisha Nurse, brings over 23 years of experience across investment banking, telecommunications, oil and gas, and consultancy, spanning regions
Thank you so
from the
much
USA
to our
the Middle
distinguished
East.
panel, and I
With
hope everyone has
expertise in
enjoyed
HR disciplines
that
and a
very
certified
informative and
background in
valuable
coaching, Taisha is
discussion. As a
dedicated to
student